Is it recorded? Okay. So the last time we met, we were talking about doing more hands-on math. How did it go?
This week we actually were learning about tens and ones. So we did an activity where they actually used manipulatives, the rods, and they were able to, basically I would give them a number, like let's say for example 15. And then they had to represent using the rods, like the tens and the ones, and then they had to explain, you know, how many tens that they had. They would say like one, I have one group of tens, and how many ones, and say that the number was 14 for ones. So we did that for about maybe 10 minutes using the manipulatives. And then after what they did, they created, using construction paper, they had a set of rods drawn, and they had to use the first letter of their name. And they had to create, you know, in a capital letter of their name. So let's say, for example, if it was like Nicolas, he did the capital N, and then on a paper they had to say, my name begins with the letter N. I use 3 tens, 0 ones. Therefore, I have, you know, 30. My number is 30, or the answer was 30. So I thought that was really good because they really got into it. They were engaged. They pretty much the whole class understood what tens and ones meant. So yesterday, actually, we still continued using dice. So they would roll a pair of dice, and they had two like lines with the plus sign equal. So they would say, okay, let's say when they rolled the dice, one was a 6, the other one was a 3. So on the tens, they would write a 6, and then on the ones, a 3. And then they would say, I have 6 tens and 3 ones. So my answer is 63. And it worked out because, especially like my intermediate and advanced group, they got it really quick. So I just had to work in a small group with the beginners.
It sounds like you really took a lot of risk with your planning, and your kids were really engaged and benefited from it. How might you account for the high level of engagement that you seem to have seen?
Meaning, like, how did I feel about it? Like, I felt really good because I didn't see anyone who was like lost or saying I don't know. The good thing, I paired them up in partners too, so it was really great to have, you know, someone else to work with and help out one another. So like yesterday, I had the day before when we actually learned about the tens and one, I had 3 students absent. So yesterday when they were here and we did it with the dice, I had students who offered and said I can teach them. Like, I can be their partner and I can help them out. And it worked out really well because those 3 students that were actually out, they actually understood it because once I talked to them, they said, yeah, I get it, I know how to do it. So it helped me not to have to reteach the lesson or, you know, have to teach the lesson, you know, all over to those students. It was just easier to have other students who actually understood it and they offered to teach it to them. So I just had to focus with just my beginners who are just struggling, and which worked out well too because I had them in a small group and it was, you know, interaction between me and the 5 students that I had worked with. So
it seems like you're really using data to drive your instruction and really forcing your children to take their own ownership of their learning. What are some of the things you think you did that made this lesson go so well?
Of course, planning. I had to just, you know, make sure, like, before I was going to teach the lesson, like, what was something that would be fun. And I got the idea, actually, from Miss White and Miss Silva, which was great, but I just added a little bit more where before we actually did the, you know, where they had to do their capital, their first name of their, you know, the first letter of their name. I wanted them to first be exposed to using the manipulatives so they can understand it. I taught first a mini lesson, then we went as a whole group. They were just working on using the manipulatives. So that worked well. So I thought that was good. And then just to do a follow-up yesterday where I wanted to make sure that they really understand this. So I just decided, let me do a different game. Especially like in math, I always like to do more like hands-on and things that are fun that they can use, you know, like dice or any other types of manipulatives that I feel that they're going to be more engaged and they're going to understand it better than just, you know, watching me just write something on the board and then they're just writing the answers. So I think that's what helped is the fact that I'm planning ahead and thinking what would be fun for them. And yeah, it was great. I mean, they loved it. And when we did even yesterday when we did the warning warm-up, and I gave them 2 questions, I mean, they were just like, oh, this is easy. They were like easy breezy, you know, so which was good because, I mean, the majority of the class, they said, yeah, they got it.
So it sounds like you're really collaborating effectively with your peers. What are some things you learned about yourself as a teacher from this?
I learned that compared to last year, I feel that this year I am doing a little bit more hands-on than last year. I think last year because it was my first year, I wasn't sure, so I did more like worksheets or cut and paste, and I feel like it's like in math. And I feel this year I'm actually going more above and beyond. We're saying, instead of doing like a cut and paste, let me just use this, and actually also have them come up and actually have them even explain to me what's going on, and the fact that I'm actually now having students where I'm encouraging them to help out others without me asking them, can you help them? Like, I'm actually having more students who are offering and saying, I can do this, I can teach them. So I think as a teacher, I feel that it's becoming, like, I feel like that, just that part where they were teaching others, it just helped me to just sit back and not have to be like, oh no, now I have to teach, these students that were out. I felt actually more comfortable. Oh, okay, these other students could do it. So I think it's helped me grow a little bit more.
So it sounds like you're really valuing handing over agency in the classroom to the students.
Yes.
Well, given this experience, what are the next steps you're considering?
The next step I'm considering is that I want more where students can be the ones who are more the agents, helping others, where it'll be less of me being the one that's teaching anything, whatever else that they need to learn. So I also want to, I know my other next steps is to actually keep working on having more, like during independent work time, during their centers, having more hands-on, that focuses on the learning targets they're working on. That's still something that I know that I said last year I was going to work on, and I still haven't gotten them to do that. But that is my goal. I have them pretty much set, but it's just introducing it to them, so that way when they go to a center, they know, oh, okay, this is what I need to work on, like a learning goal or a learning target, and they could pull that center and work on that. So just having them more focus on centers that are towards learning targets they need to work on, not ones that they know.
I understand. So your next step would be focusing on how to get students to do more hands-on activities in centers that are focusing on new learning
targets or learning targets that they still need to work on.
Gotcha. Okay. And how could your experience doing these hands-on manipulative math lessons help you achieve that goal?
I think that once they know how to just handle it, especially independently, how to handle just working on hands-on activities without me being, with them, and they could either work with a partner, I think that will help them work during center time. They could work with a partner or they can work on their own, and they know how to use them, they know how to work with them. So I think just having them work independently during those times when they're doing independent work time or when I'm teaching the lesson and then I let them go, I think that will carry on to once they do center. I mean, they do centers, they love to do whole group with, they'll grab like 5 students and then one will be the teacher. And they do really good with teaching them, like when they're working on the spelling words and they say, okay, this is the word right, and then the other students pretend that they're the student, the one's the teacher, which I like that. But I want them to be more also focused on just other learning targets, not just on one, where it's like 5 of them and then one is being the teacher. Because I feel like everybody else, they all have a different need there. So, but I think all of that, just getting them to work with one another, I think that would actually help out with the working in centers in 2 or 3 groups, groups of 3 or something like that.
Okay. Well, as you reflect on our coaching today, what are some insights you learned about yourself as a teacher?
The fact that I feel more comfortable teaching, since even though this year again it's like I'm starting a whole new grade, it's still been a bit challenging because I was so used to doing like the learning targets in kinder. I was so familiarized with those, and now these are just, some of them are still new, and then I say, how do I teach it? But I've noticed that what I do a lot is I do a lot of online research. Like if it's a learning target that I'm not sure what it is, I'll look online and see for examples. I've also talked to Ms. White and Ms. Silva to say, hey, how would you assess them on this? Like, what do I need to be looking for? And they've been great at telling me, like, do this, don't do this, and that's helped me. So I feel like be more comfortable talking to other teachers and asking for like help, and then also for me to go out there and look, just search online, just examples, or I've also talked to you, Ms. Price, what would be a great, hands-on activity that I can do with the students. I feel that helps me to actually get the students to be more engaged, and also it just makes it a bit easier for me instead of me struggling like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, or I'm just going to skip it, or just do something simple. Like I try to just take a little risk and let the kids go and do it, and because I want them to feel like they want to be in that classroom and have fun. They don't want to just be bored and be like, oh, this again. And I want them to be engaged. So I feel like that's what I feel this year I'm doing more, where the kids feel more like, hey, I like doing this. I want to be here. I want to learn.
So it seems like you really value your students' engagement and that you found two techniques to help you achieve them,
Yes.
collaboration and then online research. Well, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.